Thank you so much. Hope everyone is having a fantastic day. It's Taco Tuesday, everybody, so make sure you support your local taco stand somewhere, wherever you are. But I'll tell you what, like I said earlier, it is election day, and Michigan dispensaries wait and watch as Ohio votes on adult use cannabis, and here's why. Ohio voters will decide on Tuesday whether to approve a proposed law to legalize adult use cannabis, which would allow people 21 and older to buy, possess, and grow adult use marijuana. Proponents say it will bring in tax dollars that Ohio residents are currently sending to Michigan. But Michigan dispensary owners are some of the biggest opponents of the proposal. The spokesperson for the group behind the effort to legalize adult use marijuana in Ohio has said, "That's because it's widely acknowledged that Ohio residents cross state lines to buy marijuana in Michigan, and if it becomes available in Ohio, that could mean fewer customers for Michigan dispensaries, leading to an oversupply of marijuana that could drive prices even lower than what they've fallen to in the last few years." There are a slew of dispensaries near the Ohio border. Monroe, Michigan, about 30-minute drive from Ohio's fourth largest city by population, Toledo, has more than a dozen dispensaries. Morenci, Michigan, which shares its southern border with Ohio and has a population of about 2,000, has 5 adult-use cannabis dispensaries, and Michigan dispensaries even advertise their proximity to Ohio on their website and signs displayed at their stores. Green Labs Provisions website, a medical and adult use dispensary in Luna Pier, south of Monroe, describes itself as only 15 minutes from downtown Toledo on its website. That's a big reason why the company chose to open a dispensary in Luna Pier, said Sean Liddon, president of Green Labs Provisions. Liddon says that he and some of the owners of the company are from the Toledo area. In a quote, he says, "We're already Ohio people," he said. "We love the fact that we have so many great Ohio customers and that they already know and love our brand and will continue to stay loyal to us, hopefully," he says. Linden estimates more than half of the dispensary's customers are from Ohio and are both medical marijuana patients and adult use shoppers. Ohio legalized medical marijuana back in 2016, and Linden said he's not particularly worried about what happens Tuesday because, in quotes, "we feel that our level of quality and our established customer base is going to remain loyal to us even if some stores pop up across the border." While it's legal for an out-of-state visitor to buy adult-use cannabis in Michigan, it is illegal for them to drive the products to states where adult-use cannabis isn't legalized. However, there's no way for stores to verify where customers are traveling after they make a purchase. Not all cannabis company executives are as optimistic about what happens to Michigan's cannabis industry if Ohio and other Midwest states legalize adult use cannabis. Dave Morrow, founder of and CEO of Lumi Cannabis Co., one of the biggest cannabis companies in Michigan, describes the scenario as a, in quotes, gigantic shoe to fall. Morrow said in an interview with the Detroit Free Press earlier this year that he estimates about 1/3 of the cannabis sold in Michigan is leaving the state. Lumi has dispensaries in Adrian, Monroe, and Petersburg, all Michigan cities near the Ohio border and in locations that border other states. In Ohio, he said, prices for medical marijuana are higher compared with prices for adult use cannabis in Michigan, and Indiana hasn't legalized marijuana for medical or adult use purposes, and Illinois has prices are also higher compared with prices in Michigan, Morrow said. Marijuana prices have declined drastically in Michigan compared to what prices were during the adult use industry's early days in 2020. The average retail price for an ounce of adult use cannabis flower was 114 cents in September, according to data from Michigan's Cannabis Regulatory Agency, compared with $393.66 in September of 2020, a 75% decrease. Linden said he hears from Ohio medical marijuana patients that prices have dropped so much in Michigan that it doesn't even make sense for them to pay the fees to keep and renew their medical marijuana cards. What that means, though, according to Morrow, is that Michigan is effectively setting the price for the rest of the Midwest. In a quote, "If you're in northern Ohio, All your customers are already used to paying that market price, he said. You're not going to be able to charge them $6,000 a pound. If you go ahead and put it out at that price, everyone's going to say, yeah, right, I'm going to keep driving to Michigan. If Ohio legalizes adult use marijuana along with other border states like Indiana and Wisconsin, it will immediately create a massive oversupply issue in Michigan, Morrow said. However, even if Ohio does legalize adult use marijuana and prices are comparable to Michigan's, it will likely be at least a year before dispensaries start to open in Ohio, said Scott Johnson, a member of the law firm Eastman and Smith, which is based out of Toledo, Ohio. That's because it needs to go to the Ohio state legislature where adjustments can be made because it's an initiated statute, not a constitutional amendment. The legislature will have to pass rules and regulations and essentially put them into place, Johnson said. He anticipates that if the measure passes, the state would handle the adult use marijuana industry similar to what it has done with medical marijuana and liquor, where prospective licensees must first be qualified to receive a license and then they are entered into a lottery to receive a capped number of licenses. The market research from BDSA predicts that if Ohio voters legalize adult use marijuana, sales will start in 2025, and by 2027, the state will see $1.3 billion in marijuana sales. Meanwhile, in Michigan, it's forecast to bring in $3.7 billion in adult use sales in 2027, and BDSA said that more than double Ohio's predicted sales. That's up from $2.8 billion in sales expected this year. Well. Big day for all these voters out there, and I'll tell you this, if you are in Ohio, I hope you vote yes on this issue. I believe it's issue number 2, and this is Jason Beck for the High at 9 News. What do y'all think about this?
I think it's hysterical that they're promoting a straight or cross-state lines commerce. You know what I
Right?
mean? We don't need it here. We have it in the next state over. You can't really go buy it and bring it home, but that's what we're promoting. It's so stupid.
Yeah, and I'm surprised that they're putting those kinds of things on their website. I would think that could bring some other types of jurisdictional
Time heat.
problems. Yeah.
Big
Like you're
time heat.
clearly marketing to interstate commerce in clear direction of federal law, even though they are selling weed, which is against federal law at the same time too. But
Right. It's amazing.
mm-hmm.
That's not the focus of the story. Right?
Yeah, this is Ohio. I mean, it's Ohio. I think Michigan has plenty of time to adjust. Stores aren't even going to open probably until 2025, and they're probably going to be a clusterfuck like everybody else has been too. I think another thing to realize is that's 2 years out. We might have federal legalization before then,
Mm-hmm.
and Michigan is king of the Midwest right now.
Well, Michigan has
and
always been the gateway to the East Coast as far as cannabis sales are concerned, and
especially how Illinois is dropping has just completely dropped the ball.
I find it very naive though. I find
accessibility.
I find it very naive of this store owner who thinks that his customer base is going to stay with him from Ohio and is going to travel half an hour just to buy weed from them when they could just travel probably 15, 20 minutes to a store in their state and buy it.
Yeah, Michigan already has an oversupply. They have dispensaries giving away. What was it the big one? The big giveaway that I saw at the beginning of the year. Like you get a lifetime of weed raffle for like one of these dispensaries. So I mean, it's already overpopulated with dispensaries and access. So I mean, I think it's good for the market. It'll be good competition. Because Ohio and Michigan already has a huge competition from football and absolutely everything else. But Indiana's still not open. What are the other surroundings? Like Pennsylvania is still figuring things out. So I mean, I think Michigan will be fine in the long run. They'll figure things out, and capitalism is going to do what capitalism does. Period. Currently, it is true that the medical prices are more expensive in Ohio than adult use in Michigan. If they keep their prices lower than Ohio, they'll continue creating incentive for people to cross that border and get cheaper weed in the state over.
Without a doubt.
They're creating just a mass hysteria, economic hysteria. Like, oh, Ohio's going to come and take all our shit. Like, dude, figure it out. This is what capitalism is about.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
and just like every other state that went from a medical state to an adult use state, which has been every adult use state in this country so far, the medical program gets left behind. Why would a patient pay for a medical card if they're not getting the benefits? I don't
Exactly,
know
Nicole.
what kind of system they're doing over there, but in Nevada, we just passed legislation 6 years later after adult use to allow dispensaries to have both a medical and an adult use license instead of paying two licensing fees. And we had to get that done through legislation, and it took a while because the
Mhm.
legislators meet every other year here in Nevada. And so, yeah, you were losing, the patients weren't being cared for. They were losing dispensaries that they could go to and actually get their benefits. And so, of course, that's the real sad part, is how the medical program gets left behind every single time that this happens. I love to see adult use, of course, become legal and give more access to people that need the medicine. But at the same time, we don't need to be reducing the amount of THC that patients have access to, or reducing the amount of dispensaries that they have access to, and the benefits of being a patient. We can't forget our patients.
I'll tell you what,
I mean,
if these retailers in Michigan are really concerned about Ohio coming in and eating their lunch, you know what they need to be lobbying for? They need to be lobbying for higher purchase limits, because that would ensure that people would travel to Michigan to be able to stock up on cannabis in Michigan and then bring it back to Ohio. That would make the most sense. If I was in Michigan and I had a business in Michigan, I would be encouraging the state to raise the purchasing limits, because then that way they could come across and it would make sense. Like, I have cousins on the East Coast, and they live in Vermont, and so they'll go and buy alcohol if they need a bottle of alcohol in Vermont. But when they really go to stock up on their liquor, they drive into New Hampshire because the prices are so much cheaper. And I just see this as
But then
being
the
similar
perception,
thing.
perception of having, an unlimited purchase amount is, oh, you're going to go buy it and sell it in your area, right? Because there's no dispensaries there.
Yeah. But if the market's already set, you have a lot less customers that you're going to be able to sell it to, Todd. I mean, if the market is already super low, there's not going to be a lot of high profit margin. It's the same reason why trappers don't sit around and have cows at their house, because doesn't make sense for them to sell milk on the corner.
I get that, but the problem with passing the that unlimited limit, right, is everybody comes out, save the kids, and it's going to be in my neighborhood now because this guy's going to take a pound and break it up and resell it to the neighborhood.
It's really just like recreational cannabis has just been like a dinner bell call for all these capitalists to get in here and do what they do best,
Mm-hmm.
and really really just ruin the opportunity. I mean, to be honest, retrospectively, everybody should just stick with the caregiver and the medical model. It's in every operator's best interest, because what happens is the corporatocracy, the kleptocracy always wins at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
So that's what it